Can you imagine if half your cabinet ministers say that I want to leave, half the PAP split?
Yeah, a secret vote by Cadre members of the WP to decide if Mr. Pritam Singh to remain or to step down.
What on earth is a Cadre? Welcome to another episode of Majula Presents Singapore Confidential. My name is Benjamin, and this here man is Marcus.
Hello.
And today we're going to talk about something that is related to the colour of Marcus's shirt.
Okay, look, in all fairness, I wore this shirt not because of what we're talking about today, but because it helps me pop out from the background, which is very dark and red and gloomy and moody.
Like the world is today, huh?
No lah, it was better than it's ever been before, except for, rising gas prices, cost of living, blah, blah, blah.
Yes, let's get to it. What happened? What happened with the Workers' Party this time?
If you've been following the news lately, you'll realize that there's been a recent development in the whole Pritam Singh case, and there's going to be a special Cadres conference for the WP on the 28th of June, where Mr. Pritam Singh, the Secretary General of the Workers' Party, will be basically asked to step down, actually. That's one of the agenda items for that Cadres meeting. But basically his leadership will be put to a vote by all of the Cadre members of the Workers' Party. It's a big deal. I think, if you're talking about the second largest political party in Singapore having this kind of public reckoning, that's what's going to happen.
To be sure, this is not a PAP ask them to do thing, right? This came in from within.
As much as I think the die-hard opposition supporters want it to be so, it is unfortunately not so. I think you'll be hard-pressed to find any public comment by any ruling party minister or political office holder or even MP. It's not, they basically say, no. This is not our thing.
So how is it possible that within a party that they can ask for this sort of thing?
Well, okay, in order to do that, I think we have to kind of go back and sort of run down why this is happening, right? As we all know, Mr. Pritam Singh's conviction for lying was upheld at final appeal in December last year, I think December 2025. So that was it. That was basically case closed. The court finds you guilty of lying, and then that's it. That happened on the 3rd of December. Before the 28th of December, a group of about 20 to 25 Cadre members of the WP wrote a letter to the WP's Central Executive Committee, basically your leadership group consisting of, Sylvia Lim, Pritam Singh, I'm sure Herting Roo, Jamus Lim, and a whole bunch of other MPs, saying, we want a special Cadres members conference, which is provided for in the Constitution, because we want an answer for this. This is a very serious conviction, and we want an answer from the Sec Gen for this. So you would think that, okay, let's do one quick chop curry pok lah. Let's go, okay, let's organize this and then finish it off and go and continue working, in policy and governance and coming up with new ideas for Singapore, right? No.
So the question that they wanted answered or declared really was, should Pritam continue to be the leader?
Yes, it's a referendum on his leadership.
That's all. Nothing complicated. Nothing about what shirt should he wear today? And
no, nothing complicated. Nothing about he said, she said. No, what were the facts? The facts basically have already been laid out in both the select committee, in both the pretty long drawn out case, in the witness testimonials and the statements in the court, right?
So it's a yes or no answer that could be done?
Exactly, yes or no answer.
Okay.
It took a surprisingly long time for them to decide on a meeting for this yes or no answer.
Okay.
Okay. So what happened was that then the CEC, so remember, we have two sort of groups within the Workers' Party now. You have the cadres, the subset of cadres who said, no, we want an answer, and the leadership team, which is the CEC. So the CEC said, no, we will form a disciplinary panel and figure out what happened first. Like, what is that to figure out? Never mind, okay? So they replied on the 3rd of Jan. They said that it'll take up until around April for the disciplinary panel to do their job.
In January, so
3 months.
I guess early April they will have given an answer.
I guess it took the disciplinary panel 3 months to read the 155-page court judgment that we read in an afternoon just before our podcast.
150 pages is actually a very short story if you go to the bookshops. Something that you could finish in 1 hour. It was a fun book.
I did enjoy reading it because it's quite interesting from a purely. I'm not a lawyer. You're a lawyer. I have very little experience with the law, but it's interesting to see how people basically try and figure out the facts based off, or rather the judge tried to figure out the facts based off what this person said, what that person said, contemporaneous remembrances of things that were happening. But that's beside the point. So basically, we had the request for a special Cadre members conference on the 28th. Workers' Party CUC said, no, we're going to have a DP first, and it was going to take all the way until April. So 3 months, 4 months.
What's a DP?
Disciplinary panel.
Okay.
They announced that the disciplinary panel finished their work on the 4th of April, but it did take them another month for them to then decide to release a statement saying what is to be done with Mr. Pritam Singh. And that happened on the 30th of April.
So 30 days. 30 days to release a document.
30 days to decide what to do after the disciplinary panel has given the report. So basically the conclusion was that they found that Mr. Pritam Singh contravened 2 articles of the Workers' Party constitution, but then said, but he did not have any intention to act prejudicial to the welfare of the party, and his actions ultimately reflected judgment calls that he had to make. So it's a little bit of a whitewash. I mean, have you ever watched the movie Team America World Police? It's very old.
Oh, yes,
so,
2005.
The bad guy there is Kim Jong-il, and then he's got nuclear weapons, right? And then the UN nuclear inspector Hans Blix goes to see him and says, Mr. Kim, you've been very naughty, and then Kim Jong-il says, what you gonna do to me, Hans Blix? What you gonna do to me? And he goes, we will write you a letter. A very, very strong letter. So that's basically it. Basically, they wrote him a very, very strong letter. They wrote Mr. Pritam Singh a very, very strong letter. And that's basically the extent of the so-called punishment, I guess, that the party is willing to impose on the Secretary General. So basically, that's all led us up to this point, which is finally, after 6 months, remember, it came on April. So there's another April, May, June. So another 2 months to this Special Cadres members meeting, okay? And it is at that meeting where the Special Cadres have actually asked for 3 things, okay? They've asked for Mr. Singh to account to cadre members on convicted charges of lying to the Parliamentary Committee of Privileges. They are then asking for him to step down. So this is the internal party members are asking for Mr. Singh to step down because he breached the Article 30 of the party's constitution, which is to be honest and frank in all his dealings with Singaporeans, right? And then if he does not do so, the third item on the agenda will be a secret vote by cadres to decide if he is to remain or to step down. This is an internal reckoning of a very, very interesting kind.
It's an attack.
Like all things, it depends on who you're supporting.
Yes.
Okay, if you support Pritam Singh, you'll say it's an attack. If you support either the cadres or if you feel like you have this is a bigger question of integrity in the party, then you say, no, I'm protecting the party by making sure that we have a proper reckoning of this.
6 months, a long time to decide what to do. Even when they gave a deadline to account to the public with what they were supposed to do, they basically passed up the homework quite late. Even 2359 on the 30th of April, then they gave that letter that says naughty, naughty.
It's like university, right? If the teacher says by 12 midnight on the 1st of May, you have to pass up your homework. If I pass up on the 30th of April, still what? It's okay what? I don't do anything wrong what? I just waited until the last minute to do so. So
I guess it is something very interesting for us as Singaporeans to decide as well. You could have made up your mind in half a minute about this.
Yeah.
Report could have been generated by ChatGPT in 30 seconds. Or faster.
Yes.
But why did it take so long? What was there to prepare about?
I mean, okay, so we always like to play devil's advocate here, right? Okay, if you are a member of CC, you say, no, this is a very important thing, we want to get it right. We want to look at all of the evidence before us before we make a judgment on this. The more uncharitable point of view would be there was significant amount of, I would say, you can tell that there was significant amount of internal unhappiness at that point in time where the conviction came out and the appeal was denied, right? Because it's very clear. I think in Singapore, generally people accept that we're a country with a rule of law, and we accept that the courts generally are fair and transparent with these kind of things. So what would happen is, the way I see it is, had the CC agreed and said, okay, fine, special cadres, you can call a conference then it's very likely that this core group of cadres could have rallied other cadres and said, this is important and we need to sort this out, and maybe bring them over to the side. And then therefore, Mr. Pritam Singh's position would be very, very tenuous. But taking the time with this process, which to be fair, I mean, if you look at, I don't know what their internal practices are. I'm sure they're fully entitled to do so. Because in the constitution that I read for the Workers' Party, they don't say that if a special cadres conference is called, you must have it by that time. It's up to the CC to basically say when, okay lah, you can even do a year from now. But what is done, I think, quite smart, quite intelligently, it's dissipated the anger a bit. You're not likely for the cadres to be able to rile people and say this is such an important thing to discuss.
I think leadership challenges is not a new thing.
It's not a new thing. We always say we like to use stories from the past to explain our present, right? That's one of our pithy taglines, right? I went back to take a look at some of the great political leadership challenges in Singapore over our history, and there have been many. I mean, you talk about say Lee Kuan Yew versus Ong Eng Guan. This was back in 1959, I think, when PAP was got self-governance for the first time from the British. They won the elections for self-governance. And at that time, Ong Eng Guan was the mayor of the city council, so he had an actual political position. So, if you want to talk about it, in the party itself, well, why should Lee Kuan Yew be the sec-gen? Because he doesn't actually have a political position, and this is important for political parties. You take a look at any CEC, basically, it comprises mostly of the people who are in parliament, who have a political position. And Lee Kuan Yew won by just one vote, a tiebreaker by Toh Chin Chai, if I'm not wrong.
and that's just one man. I mean, one man in a by-election. I mean, the bugbear would be the biggest split, right?
It was. I mean, the fact remains that at that point in time, because it's such a new party, the PAP, they probably didn't have the provisions to decide on a tiebreaker. They had 12 people voting for the CC. So it's a 6-6 even split. So you had to have someone as tiebreaker. So, yeah, I mean, you had that. You had things like, the PAP versus Barisan.
No, that would be dramatic.
That was dramatic as well. 1961, where they split from the Barisan. Where the Barisan split from the PAP.
Yeah, and I think as Singaporeans, in modern day Singaporeans, have never seen this age before. I think we need to really appreciate like how dramatic this was. Can you imagine like if half your cabinet ministers say that, I don't friend you all anymore, I want to leave. Half the PAP split.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that today?
Yeah, I mean, we only had barely 50 seats in parliament, and 13 of them immediately went off and joined a new party. And it's because of that, right, that you see some very interesting sort of political innovations that happen of that. First things first is obviously the institution of the cadre system, which we'll talk about at some point. Yes. But the second thing was no crossing the party line. So if you say, I have decided to leave a party, you also automatically vacate your parliamentary seat, and you have to fight an election again to get it back in, which is what happened to Ong Eng Guan, I think. He crossed the party line, and then he had to start his own party, and he won. To be fair to him, he won. But these are things that countries around us are grappling with to this day. I mean, you look at Malaysia, they've been talking about this kind of no party line defection legislation for a long time, because this is literally what led to all of that infighting, all of that, people hopping from one party to another during up until like the 2018 elections, or later than that. A lot of coalition hopping and changes of allegiances. It drove such instability in the political process. You're right in the sense that the 60s, the kind of very turbulent, mad politics.
And exciting. And it's not just the politicians, the trade unions of the time, mind you, were not. There's no NTUC back in the day. This was all, well, you could say, whether they're communists or not, okay, sure, they're communists.
It was a big battle of everything from civil society all the way up to the higher echelons of politics.
And the media, and that's why, and there was, and the split was huge. It was really English speaking against Chinese speaking. So anyway, there were these factions.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't think it's that accurate to say that we've never experienced this before. In fact, we have seen a lot more leadership tussles in the last 20, 30 years as well. But this time, not really from PAP, because I think the PAP has had the time and the opportunity and the resources to institutionalize itself very well. And then, keep the factionalism to a bare minimum, which I think I read a recent research article which says it's very unusual in this part of the world where factionalism is such a big problem. We have seen more leadership challenges now, but in recent years amongst opposition political parties. And in fact, WP is not a stranger to any of this. You look at, say, in 2001, we talked about this in our previous podcast, but when JBJ and Mr. Loh Khiang had a falling out, and Mr. Jeyaretnam left the party that he shepherded for 30 years, right? And that came up because there was a disagreement. There was a very strong disagreement. Mr. JBJ felt that the Workers' Party needed to help him pay for his legal bills and his legal troubles. And then Mr. Loh Khiang said, no, well, the party has to be bigger than one man. And in a way, that set the stage for the ascendancy of the WP during the Loh Khiang era. Because I don't think they would have had the chance. If you talk about, say, 2001, probably one of the lowest times for the WP. You had a SecGen who was constantly in legal trouble. You had very little, you only had one representation. But after that, Mr. Loh brought in Sylvia Lim, he brought in Yaw Shin Leong, he brought in a lot of these other, James Gomez who then went on to the SDP. But that set the stage, right? His kind of more on the ground, kind of less fire and brimstone political leadership led to 2011. We've talked this many times. Led to 2011, led to 2015, 2020, 2020, all of these things. And that's not the only leadership challenge that they've ever had. They've had one with in 2016 where Mr. Loh was challenged by Mr. Chen Shou-mao, was the Star Catch in 2011, right? Barely 5 years after the Star Catch came on, the Star Catch said, I think it's time for a change. There are many of these leadership challenges, and they're part and parcel, I think, of any political party, political system. I think the one unique part about it, the one sui generis part of it in all of Singapore is the fact that the PAP, they don't do leadership challenges, they do leadership renewals. And these are, people say carefully orchestrated, but I think there's a great deal of discussion within the CEC and within, I'm sure, with the senior cadre members get their say as well. And then you have generally what a lot of Singaporeans appreciate, which is a stable move to a new leadership. You had that with LKY to Mr. Goh Chok Tong. You had it from Mr. Goh Chok Tong to Mr. Lee Hsien Loong, and then now you have it with Mr. Lee Hsien Loong to Mr. Lawrence Wong.
So just fun fact. Yeah. While all this may seem very distant to people who are not in politics, I like to share that these things actually happen in your MCSDs as well. And MCSDs are even crazier than the stuff you see in actual
Every
politics. Every condo. I've seen condos where they actually form different parties to try and fight for the seat. That one was ridiculous. And they had posters and introductions.
Same thing with country clubs. Oh my God, the fights in country clubs are just horrendous. Social clubs and country clubs.
It's politics. And this thing about having the political party pay for legal bills is also in the MCSDs. I've seen documents where the MCSDs are asked to pay for defamation suits against another resident or to defend against another resident. Yeah. So it's not new. So this stuff is this crazy stuff is in our politics. Politics is politics wherever it is.
Okay, but I think there's one thing unique about this particular WP Special Cadres meeting on the 28th. And that is while other leadership tussles have been about, like referendums on politics or ideas or where should this party be going, right? This one is a different thing altogether. This Cadres meeting is a referendum on a person's integrity and character. It's a very different thing altogether. I don't think we've actually seen that in particular any time in Singapore in the last, I don't think ever really.
Because it is quite serious. But before we get to all that, what on earth is a cadre?
At Modular Presents, we explain Singapore one video at a time. We find out why our BTO system was created and why CDC vouchers are better than cash. Catch us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Modular Presents.
Tell us, Ben. Tell us what a cadre is.
A cadre is someone who holds a card law. No, well, okay, sure. No. So we have democracy. We have people that vote the party.
Yeah.
But the party is run by a central executive committee, a CEC.
Yep.
You have that in your MCSDs, in your churches, in your trade unions, whatever. But who selects the CEC? Well, in most organizations, any member of this organization can select the CEC.
Yeah.
Democratic, right? Can it be gamed? Oh, hell yes.
Absolutely.
If I wanted a group of people to support me, I just bring in maybe 500 new members. Okay, maybe even not so dramatic. I just bring in 20 new members, enough to topple a vote.
Yeah.
And that's enough.
And you've seen that with other, like say in the Labour Party when Jeremy Corbyn was fighting to be the leader of the Labour Party. He was helped by a groundswell of very new Labour members. Basically like 1 month Labour member or the last week I joined as a Labour member and I cast my vote for Jeremy Corbyn because that's all you need to do. You just need to sign up as a Labour member, pay your fee, and then you get to vote.
Yeah. And the West sees themselves as like the last bastion of democracy, but this democracy can be gamed, attacked, and strategized.
Yeah.
So is it still democratic anymore? Well, the PAP has learned its lesson from the challenges with all these fellas with Barisan and all that. They say no. You can't have everybody coming in to disturb my votes. So voting for a CEC is only limited to a select group of members.
Yeah.
Who are they? Well, nobody knows.
If we're going to explain this a bit more clearly for our listeners, basically, if you join a political party in Singapore generally, I think most of the political parties in Singapore follow this kind of cadre member sort of structure. If you join a political party, you're an ordinary member.
Yes.
Okay. You can go for party conferences. You can talk to your MPs, or you can you get all those things.
You get to pay the membership fee.
You get to pay the membership fee, which is a princely sum of between $9 and $10. In fact,
terrible.
I've read the constitution of like 3 or 4 political parties in Singapore. I think PAP is the cheapest. $9. I think the others are 10.
Terrible. I would have thought it's much more.
No, I think PAP is cheapest and they allow younger people. So it's $9 and they allow from 17 years old.
Just curious. I just want to know, how much is a Workers' Party membership fee?
$10. I told you $10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I join? Can anybody join?
Anyone can join, but you can only join one party.
Oh, like that. Okay.
Okay. They all of them explicitly say if you're a member of another political party, sorry, you cannot. So you can join as an ordinary member. You should pay your $9 or $10 and then you're there. But if you want to vote for who's sitting on the CEC, the leadership, you got to be a cadre member. And that one, you have to be invited to become a cadre member. So from being an ordinary member to a cadre member, it's not easy. You have to prove your worth, volunteering a long time, and you have to be trusted in a sense. You get nominated, and then the CC will decide whether to accept a nomination or not. So, in the words of one researcher, it's the Pope chooses the cardinals, and the cardinals choose the Pope. Okay. Which is a very interesting. It is exactly. But like you said, it is a way to make sure that any organization is not suddenly hijacked by an influx of new members for whom you don't know their reason for being, or whether they are true members or they are just adventurous. It's
a very interesting mechanism. I think we can debate all day long about whether or not this is fair, this is democratic.
I don't think we have to debate all day long. The fact that all of the leading political parties in Singapore have signed up to the same system means that they see its worth as a defensive mechanism.
Yeah, in Singapore, yes, but not the world.
Not the world. The world obviously is in a shambles right now. They can sort themselves out. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about how, because of this unique system where the Pope chooses the cardinals and the cardinals choose the Pope, right? How is it that the Pope can sometimes game the system to make sure that they remain there?
If I was in a CEC and I chose a bunch of you guys to be voting for me, of course you'll be voting for me. But to be fair, the larger body that invites a larger body of people, it retains its own sense of mystery. Yeah. So I guess there's a bit of fun down there. You don't know who has invited who.
Well, I mean, so take a look at, for example, the 2016 leadership challenge between Mr. Low Khiang and Mr. Chen Shou-mao, right? CNA said that Mr. Low nominated about 2/3 of the new cadre members into the cadre membership before the leadership challenge happened. Straits Times said the party had last month appointed 28 new cadres, bringing the total to around 130. So, 28 out of 100, that's an extra 25% of new cadre members. When all the dust settled, the vote was 61 to Mr. Low Khiang and 45 to Mr. Chen Shou-mao.
Wow.
That's only 16 extra votes. There's been some really good investigative reporting by CNA on this current WP Cadres conference.
I think after this cadre attack, or whatever you will call it, I think it's going to be a non-event.
Okay, well, we should talk about this. What do you think is going to happen at this 28th June Cadre members meeting?
In order to be a SecGen, you must have already commanded your own loyal following. You must have already had your own defenses and so on and so forth. If you can't do that, then maybe you don't deserve to be a SecGen. Be that as may, if you feel the ground around him, what the people are saying, what his loyalty following is saying, you can almost see that it's a done deal. It's
so nothing's going to happen.
Nothing's going to happen.
He's going to survive. No problem.
I think the Workers' Party has also been changing its texture. Less of the Low Khiang type, and slightly more of a different new generation, English-speaking, modern Gen Z, 21st century type. You can see, visually see that texture change. You can see that, that's where his supporter base is, and nothing's going to happen.
The problem is, this entire issue with the lying to Parliament, the misleading Parliament, and then leading to the conviction of all that, right? It started, let's be perfectly honest about this, from that new texture of young urban professionals that the WP brought in 2020. At least one of them. If I were a member of, say, the old guard, the guys that belong to Mr. Low's time, I'd be saying, I think this is not where the party should be going. I mean, you might be right in saying that there's this massive generational sort of cleave within the party, but I think the old guard are perfectly in their right to say this is bad. This would never have happened under Low Khiang. I mean, I'm going to say this will never have happened under Low Khiang. We should not be doing this, and I want an answer for this. Whatever it is, right? We talked about how this is actually ultimately a referendum on a person's integrity and character, right? What is important? Short-term political success, no doubt. The waters are slightly muddied because Mr. Pritam Singh is a wildly popular leader. Opposition leader. And he's also been very successful in terms of electoral success, right? So you have those twin sort of defenses there already. I would suggest maybe, my opinion is, why the 2016 leadership challenge happened between Mr. Low Khiang and Mr. Chon Shou Mao was because the 2015 elections weren't great for the WP. Like they barely retained alternate with like 50.95% of votes, so like less than 1% of the votes, right? Yeah. But that I think cannot be totally blamed on Mr. Low, because I think the groundswell of emotion after Mr. Lee passed away, 2015, made people think really carefully about what kind of politics and what kind of country they wanted. So in this case, it's less clear cut, like you said, because he's been very successful politically, electorally. He's very popular. Optically, he does the right things and says the right things.
I understand where they're going. I mean, popularity is the currency of elections. Capitalize on it. So I have a rather startup mindset. If he brings in the voters, why not? If the ground is for him, why not? Before you can even talk about changing the country and all this kind of thing, you must be in Parliament. So if he can do it, keep him there. So
ends justify the means.
The ends justify the means. And, the court may say, yes, he's convicted of lying. As the stereotype sentence goes, every politician lies. So?
No, okay. I take issue with that statement that every politician lies. I don't think so. It is the knee-jerk reaction that anyone, basically because of, again, many things, the negativity bias of social media, you only tend to see the worst things of people, and they say, everyone's lying. And it's easy to say that because everyone's lying means that you also, you don't have to be idealistic at all.
Yeah,
you can be cynical, and cynicism is the last refuge of the jaded and idealistic. I have maybe a different look at this, and it's a very, for me, worrying look. Because if you look at the WP, and it seems clear from local media reporting that the Cadre members who have called for this election have been part of the older guard, Low Khiang side, and also Chinese and Malay apparently. Does that mean that the younger generation have a different expectation of integrity and character? And that is a very, very dangerous thing, because what it's saying that our politics is no longer exceptional. Our politics is reverting to the mean. Our politics is going back to the fake news, you're all fake news. As long as you are popular, you can just say, this is fake news and I don't care and people are going to vote for me. That's a problem, because there are certain standards in the world. You cannot get away from that. And if it's the old guard that's saying that, if you want to talk about he made these judgment calls, this is the wrong judgment call. The right judgment call is what Loh Khiang did the minute he heard about the lie. He said, go to Parliament, immediately go and come clean. That was the right judgment call. So that's where we're at now. We are seeing two different points of view. The right judgment call should have been made, was not made. It's okay lah. This is politics lah. We can sometimes make the wrong judgment call lah. It's okay. The last time we did this podcast, and we talked very, very, very clearly about how this is a struggle really for the soul of the WP, right? I had a lot of angry, thankfully, private DMs to me from friends who are WP supporters. And to be fair, I'm very grateful that they remain DMs because I don't like to fight and argue with friends publicly, right? But it goes back to the point. It is, in fact, the reason why you're having such a strong reaction to what I said is because I think people deep down know that it is actually a fight for the soul of the party. What do you really believe in? Yeah. Because if the roots are rotten, the tree cannot stand, no matter how big and how wide the canopy is.
So this is basically what's facing them. Go back to your roots, or continue because this guy can win votes.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like I said, it's always darkest before the dawn. And one of the reasons why I brought up the whole JBJ versus Loh Khiang issue again is because they have done well. And in fact, their moments of crisis have been actually good for them. Because, Loh Khiang came in with guns blazing in 2011 and won GRC that could never have happened. That's a massive mind shift in Singapore's electorate.
My goodness, what if there was going to be another Workers' Party?
Cannot lah, we got too many already lah. How many more you want? Like PSP lah, WP lah, SDP lah. I will say one thing, right? SDP, we talk about constitution, right? I couldn't find the constitution of the SDP on on their website at all.
Really? For our listeners, a constitution really is an unmovable document that dictates what your organization believes in.
And there we're also having an argument. I argue that, I'm not a constitutionalist. I argue that the constitution actually is a living, breathing document. It has to change with the times.
And then the SDP, who doesn't have a constitution, will tell you that they practice convention, just like the United Kingdom.
I'm sure I'm sure they have a constitution. I just have not been able to locate it.
Yeah, Chee Soon Juan is the constitution. What are you talking about?
We talked about electoral success, right? And for me, I think it is a modern day marvel that there's not been a single leadership challenge in the SDP over the last 30 years. They went from the most successful opposition party in 1991 with 2 opposition seats, right?
Chiam See Tong, we not forget that, yes.
Okay, I'll come. That's been said over and over again. But 7 elections that they've not won anything and there's been no leadership challenge?
Yeah.
I don't know how that happens. A modern day miracle, I think, for the SDP.
If there was a CEO, he'll been fired long ago by the board.
Look at Keir Starmer. He just had his party had a drubbing, and the knives are out. People are lining up to get rid of him, to replace him.
This will be very not exciting, but it will be interesting to watch everything unfold. We'll be looking forward to see how the Workers' Party votes, what will be the outcome of it, and what will be the outcome of it.
So you feel that nothing's going to happen, Pritam Singh is going to stay the same. And Absolutely. In a way, I also feel that's most likely going to happen because all of the WP MPs in Parliament have said we support him, right? So, and they constitute the large portion of the CEC. So I don't think it's going to happen. But here's the thing. What if the unexpected would happen and he actually did step down?
Wow. Then the next question will be who is going to fill the void?
Yeah.
And I think there may be some sense of this is actually something quite interesting to think about.
Yeah.
Pritam actually carries with him a lot of baggage. He came.
How so?
He came with the trio Sylvia Lim and Loh Khiang, and they have had their misadventures. Pulled out into public with the town councils. With the handling of funds and so on and so forth. There is some baggage, some stigma that follows. And now this, I think it'll be quite interesting to see who might be worthy to take the place. I think Jamus Lim would be quite interesting.
Okay.
Relatively young, economist, well-spoken and all that, very popular on social media these days. Ting Roo might be another one as well, a female leader for opposition politics now. That would be very interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, if you were to ask me, I think that would maybe not Miss Ting Roo, but maybe, if Jamus Lim were to come in and take over as Sec Gen, I think that would further the cleave between the old guard and the new guard, because there's nothing largely I'm not sure how appealing he can be to Teochew speaking Aokang Ogan, that Mr. Low managed to grab in.
He got to learn the language now, But I think it would take a fresh take. These are newer generation leaders, no baggage, and represents diversity for our modern days. Why not?
Yeah. But but again, I think we all think that's not going to happen, lah. This is just a very interesting sort of thought experiment.
Yeah. Shall we do bets? Bookies. What are your odds like?
Let's go on Poly Market and figure.
Yeah. Shall we have a vote counter? How many percent of you will think?
I don't bet on things I know are a sure loss. I'm not going to bet. And anyway, betting is wrong, guys.
World Cup coming.
World Cup coming. Yeah. Don't bet on Germany. Bet always on Germany. Always on Germany. But to end off, I think we're basically done talking about this particular thing. If anything comes out on the 28th, that will be interesting. We'll probably come back and talk about it as well.
For sure.
But like I say, I think it's a done deal. I don't think there's any surprises in store in terms of decisions on the leadership of the Workers' Party. But I have a rant of this week, okay? The rant of this week is this. Mr. Bayam King, who is MP for Tampines Town Council, he put up a post showing a exchange that he had with a resident. The resident basically said, look at all this trash in this dumpster, 3 or 4 days already, Why y'all haven't done anything about it? And then Mr. Bay comes with receipts because apparently now all these town council cleaners have to take photos when they've done cleaning with the timestamp on it. And he took the photos and he put up there and he said, actually, it looks like it was just today because we cleaned it yesterday and it's clean. Cleaned it the day after it's clean. Just today that you took photo and it's like that. Firstly, I would say great that he had receipts, but this is horrible that he has to have receipts. It's a complete utter breakdown of trust. And this is what happens when you have people who complain without thinking through their complaint. It's so easy for these guys to say, you see, 3 or 4 days already, you all never do your job. But it's not the truth. And then you let these fellas, these Yahoo residents come in and say this nonsense. And then, of course, the resident then had this sort of like a non-apology, a milquetoast non-apology saying, thank you for telling me. I was like, stop it, okay? If you want to complain about something, at least look at the issue and say, is this really a systemic issue? Have I seen this all the time? No? Then be nice about your complaint. Don't throw around nonsense like, many days already, but it's not true. Yeah. That being said, if it is true and you have the evidence, go. Roast your MP. I think they deserve it because they're there to help ensure the cleanliness of your estate. So anyway, that's my rant of the week, okay? If you guys want to complain, don't just anyhow shoot. Well, thank you, Ben, for another, heart-stopping debate on politics in Singapore. There's so much to talk about every time we meet. I think probably we should start talking a bit more about overseas influence campaigns at some point, right?
Oh, yes. And I wonder, who should we invite for this?
We should invite someone who's incredibly controversial, I think. And who's willing to talk, speak their mind. But we will have to look through our Rolodex and see who is involved.
I can't think of anyone who's who's like that.
Anyway, to all our listeners and viewers on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, thank you for joining us. We'll be back soon with another episode of Singapore Confidential.